In some ways, one of the greatest benefits of PC games is being able to explore beyond just the in-game universe itself. The very nature of the platform gives users the ability to navigate the folder structure of a game, opening up a wide range of possibilities for those that want to explore hidden data like graphics, music, and dialogue. But this also makes reimagining some of the game's code possible as well. This is where PC games find themselves being modified, and with that opens up the ability for players to create their own cheats and exploits.
Is that a crab with a top hat and a monocle? That's where I draw the line. Come on, Master Chief. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Because of this, some developers include code which is designed to detect any unofficial modifications to a game's typical parameters. So if something happens that's completely unexpected, there can be consequences for the player's actions. In this episode, we'll be looking at methods implemented by devs to catch and punish cheaters in games such as The Witcher 3, GTA 5, Runescape, and Left 4 Dead 2. We'll start off by looking at quite an amusing way one developer caught out cheaters. Raven Software's Heretic was made by using a slightly modified version of the Doom engine created by id Software. Rather than taking on a sci-fi theme like Doom, Heretic is more of a fantasy game. But because the two games use the same engine, some players took it upon themselves to find more similarities between the two games, like cheat codes. If a player enters the code IDKFA, a code from Doom which gives players all weapons and full ammo, armor and health, and all the keys for the game's doors, they'll be treated to a different result in Heretic. Raven Software figured that if people want to try and give themselves a fully stocked arsenal, they'll instead give them the exact opposite. The cheat takes away all of their weapons and ammo, save for the basics. And the screen will make it clear on how they feel about the player taking a stab at the old password, saying cheater. Another well-known code is IDDQD, probably the most powerful cheat in Doom, giving the player God mode, making it impossible to die. Once again, Heretic decides to go with the total opposite with this cheat, making it impossible for them to live by just outright killing the player there and then, with on-screen text reading, "Trying to cheat, eh? Now you die." Another game that penalized unlawful players is Runescape. The title had a creative way of punishing players that used bots or programs to play the game for them, where code would perform tedious grinding for materials on the behalf of players while they're AFK. In 2012, Runescape introduced a new location called Botany Bay, an island to cast away these villainous players from the rest of civilization. Players caught botting were teleported to this bleak rock and subjected to a scolding speech from the bot finder general, who instantly passes the verdict of guilty. From there, sentencing can become a spectator sport, with players hurling rotten fruit from the stands and voting on suitable punishments. Botters could be crushed by the claw of justice, swallowed by an abyssal worm, or blasted apart by a ray of light from a vengeful deity. Botany Bay takes inspiration from history, where the name was used as a reference to a real-world location of Botany Bay, found in Sydney, Australia, which was used as a place to exile real criminals. For some time, when one described sending somebody over to Botany Bay, it was a generalised term to refer to sending anybody to an Australian penal settlement. The real-world Botany Bay was not around for long before those that inhabited it moved elsewhere, and in RuneScape, Botany Bay remained open for just 6 years before closing its borders.
There's plenty more PC anti-cheat shenanigans coming up, but first let's take a quick word from this episode's sponsor, Mobile Legends Bang Bang. MLBB is a MOBA title designed for mobile devices where two opposing teams compete to defend and take over each other's bases. And you can do this in style with the game's wide range of heroes, such as Fanny and Layla, that are receiving the brand new and the first Japanese anime-style skins in the game, as one of the most valuable skins for collection with S-quality standards and an ACG-style personality. These two also come with a new theme composed by Yasuharu Takanashi of Naruto fame, as well as a new comic and manga story, and a new ACG op showing the growing stories of the girls and their exciting battles to come. The girls are also voiced by Nana Mizuku and Yoshino Nanjo, famous for their roles in Naruto and a certain scientific railgun respectively. To try out this record-breaking MOBA and get an exclusive bonus, head to mobilelegends.com/en/code-exchange and use the code on the screen, or click the link at the top of this video's description and enter the code there. Now, back to PC games.
Cheat codes are all a bit of fun really, but when it comes to online games, cheaters can truly be a massive hindrance to the experience of other people. So it's no surprise that some companies dedicate a lot of effort to curbing exploits. Grand Theft Auto 5 is a huge game and a huge hit, but GTA Online is perhaps one of the most successful online games of all time, at least when it comes to year-on-year revenue. Part of this revenue generation, of course, comes from microtransactions, particularly for in-game cash which the player can then spend on weapons, items, property, or cars. So when a particularly strong glitch was discovered by players relating to this in-game cash, cheaters learnt very quickly you don't mess with a juggernaut like Rockstar. The apartment garage glitch lets GTA Online players purchase properties, then use some menu magic to dupe the game into giving them millions of in-game dollars for the same property. Since that's obviously against the rules of the game, Rockstar stepped in handing out a punishment so quick and severe that it was actually quite shocking. Instead of simply deleting the money that the players hadn't properly earned, Rockstar went for the jugular and unleashed a wave of full account resets, wiping characters that players had been working on for years in an instant. It's one heck of a punishment, but clearly Rockstar wanted to make an example, and what an example it was. Maybe Rockstar weren't so happy that in-game money, which earns the company a stonking volume of real-world money, could be stolen from right under their noses. A bit like something from GTA. Banning online players from games is also a very simple solution to cheaters, and this is the result of cheating in the zombie battle royale H1Z1. Yes, I'm English, I say Z, please hold your comments. Cheating was a seriously widespread issue with H1Z1, and the game's creator, John Smedley, was fed up with the problem. In retaliation against cheaters, a mass banning took place that on a single day saw up to 24,000 people having their accounts banned. Out of dismay, many of the banned users tried to contact Smedley as a means of making amends, demonstrating their remorse, as well as expressing their wish to have their accounts reinstated. In response to these messages, Smedley offered them a deal. Dear cheaters who got banned, many of you are emailing me, apologizing and admitting it. Thank you. However, you're doing it wrong. If you want us to even consider your apology, a public YouTube apology is necessary. No personal information, please. Email me the link. In total, Smedley unbanned only 5 accounts out of a total of 30,000 which were slapped with account suspensions. As of today, most of these apology videos are no longer available on YouTube, save just one, recorded by xcalcifer87. Another zombie title, though this time not exclusively playable online, is the first-person shooter Left 4 Dead 2. While the game can be played online, it's also a fully fledged single-player game, but it will still punish those for trying to cheat in the game's survival mode. Because of the nature of the title's maps, there are some areas which hold exploits where the player can find themselves safe from the reach of the infected. If in a survival mode playthrough and the game's AI director detects this exploit being used, it will pour spitter acid on the ground, as a means of coaxing the player away from their hiding spot and back into the game's main playing field. This may work as a hint for some players, but if the message doesn't get through and the player is able to avoid the acidic floor somehow, the AI will go even further by just outright dealing damage to the player instead, until they find themselves in a similar state to their enemies, dead. While this is a general rule for the game, there are still some areas that are undetected by the game's AI, as they are mistakenly considered to be within the field of play. We mentioned earlier how GTA Online players found a simple menu exploit which granted them a massive hoard of cash, but another game with a similar means of quickly farming gold was The Witcher 3. After the game's launch, some very clever players took a page out of Diablo 2's book and realized that an effective means of farming gold was through farmyard animals, for instance, absolutely massacring cows. A muassacre, if you will. If Geralt simply murders a couple of cows located in the White Orchard area, collects their pelts for sale at a later point, and then meditates to fast forward time until the cows spawn in, the player will easily be able to get hold of a good stash of cash in no time. CD Projekt Red caught wind of this exploit, however, and decided that it was unfair of the player to take advantage of the placid bovine who have no chance of even defending themselves. So the cows were granted their own heifer protector in the form of a chort. After Geralt manages to slay just 6 cows in quick succession, a chort will come storming out of the wilderness, a mega monster which can make mincemeat of the player in no time if unprepared. The mechanic is known as the Bovine Defense Force Initiative, and on first release would have seen chorts respawn indefinitely after the player managed to take one out. Sadly, this actually resulted in the opposite effect for more worthy witchers, as if a player was able to take on the waves of chort adversaries with little effort, their pelt's actually worth more than double that of a cow. And so, the initiative was nerfed to only spawn in a single Chort, and once killed, no more will spawn. Did you also know that Silver the Hedgehog from Sonic 06 was inspired by Trunks from the hit anime Dragon Ball Z? Or that Sonic Mania has a hidden tribute? For an entire hour of Sonic facts, check out the video on screen. It's a weird one, because I would say Z when saying the single letters, but I do still call it Dragon Ball Z. How about that? It's almost as if it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all.